Today has me working again on 2015 Chrysler 200C. Today we're trying to solve thermostat rationality code symptom. We've already tried replacing just the coolant temperature sensor, and the code reappeared. So what we're doing today instead is we're going to replace the entire thermostat assembly. Okay, so that's what this looks like on this car. You have a thermostat within here. This is the part right from the dealer. The part from the dealer in our area was only about $61. And the funny part was that the sensor that we already replaced was over $30 already. So if anyone else is trying to solve the same code, I would recommend going right to the dealer, getting this thermostat assembly. It's pretty affordable considering that's $30+ dollars, and so the rest of this is basically worth $30-something. So I'm going to walk you through how to replace this, and that's what we're working on today. Hopefully we'll solve the code today. Okay, so our first step here is to pull off this beauty cover. It pulls straight off. Just tell out my couple of rubber prongs. So down here, 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 and here. So now the area we need to be in is all the way down here. Okay, so I'm going to start by unplugging this ECM, unbolting the ECM, so I have a better path to get in there. So the first thing you need to do is right here, there is a little clip. You can depress that, and then actually pivot this red latch up on both of these. Okay, and now that's going to release those plugs. Just firmly pull them straight out. Okay, then I've got 1, 2, and there's a third nut down straight below this one. Those look like they're 10 mils. I'll pull those out. Okay, so that's about where the straightforward part of this process ends. As you can see on this, there are 4 bolts, 4 bolt holes. I currently have the 2 forward bolts out. The 2 rearward bolts are going to be very interesting. So if you look down here, that bolt there corresponds to this upper bolt on the unit. Okay, then this lower bolt I can't even see as I'm working. That's going to have to be something I'm going to have to do by feel. If you'll also notice, this bolt is actually captured also by that metal bracket. So I have to take that bolt out, try and pry that metal bracket up slightly, and then get that lower bolt out once I finally reach it and feel it, and then we'll finally be able to get that thing out. Okay, so this job got really annoying in a big hurry. I'm going to try and walk you through what I got so far. I do finally have the thermostat housing out. I checked one of the forums. I don't remember what the name of the forum is right now, but I checked one of the forums that gave me some suggestions how to walk through different steps, and I'll show you in person what some of those issues are. Okay, so 3 components that I found helpful to remove is the air duct that comes from the air filter all the way over here to the throttle body. I removed the throttle body, and I removed this air pump here from this side. So now, as you can see, I do have the thermostat loose. Basically, the last thing I have to do is I have to take out this metal clip here. That's just going to pull straight out. That's going to release that hose for me, and then the thermostat will be totally free. But see, that gives you a lot more room to work. As we already knew, these 2 front bolts were somewhat accessible. This top rear bolt was somewhat accessible. That lower rear bolt I couldn't get to no matter what I did. So what I ended up doing was I used a long pry bar to actually pry this pipe, this lower rad pipe, downward just a bit. Then I was able to reach all the way across underneath all of this nonsense with a long 1/4 inch extension and a 10 mil socket. And that was not easy, but it was manageable. It was doable. In order to get that out, this is the top rear bolt here. I also loosened this bolt right here, and that allowed that bracket to flex just a little bit. So I'll walk you through some tips on the throttle body now, because that was a pain in the neck, and I'll walk you through some info on this air pump here, and we'll do that right now. Okay, so this air duct is approximately where it was before. So you can start with loosening this hose clamp. You'll have a plastic clip right here that actually presses all the way in down to this, and you'll have one 10mm bolt that goes into a thread hole back here. Then over here you'll have this clamp and this hose connecting to the valve cover. Okay, so that's out of the way. I'll show you the throttle body out here. This is its orientation. Okay, so here's a look at the throttle body. This is the front of the car by the radiator. This is the rear by the firewall. These Torx bolts came out of there. This regular bolt goes right there. And then this goes right there. Okay, and here's where things get interesting, okay? So this bracket is on that, okay? And then that bolts to the actual head, okay? This is very difficult to get to. I was able to just get it. This has a 13mm head on it. To be honest with you, I don't usually like to do this, but this bracket is definitely not going back in. I just saw it, maybe I'm paranoid, but I just saw that as a way for Chrysler to make things more difficult. That nut there actually holds that bracket on. So once you get all four of these out, you're able to get this and then this detached from behind. There's like 2 or 3 hoses in the way. It makes it very tricky. Get that off. Then you can actually turn this out completely as the last step, and then you can pull the throttle body off. So that's where the throttle body came from. And then way back in here is where that bolt comes off of, with that stupid little bracket. Okay, that brings us to the air pump. Okay, here's the air pump. Pull it off. There's an O-ring here and a small O-ring here. Keep those both intact and on there. Okay, that's more self-explanatory. That basically has 3 13mm bolts that come off. And I just gently turned that out of the way so I can just leave those hoses connected. And then with those two things out of the way, then you can access the thermostat area better and do like I described. Bend this pipe down a bit so you can reach that last bolt in the back lower bolt. That is very tricky. Don't underestimate that, but it is possible. It is doable. So at this point, I'm going to reassemble it, get her started up, top off the coolant, and hopefully that's going to solve the code. Because of some of the challenges here, I don't recommend this for a novice. If you have some experience working around these parts of the cars, you're going to want a little bit of experience and a lot of patience to get this done, but it is doable. Hopefully you find this helpful. Okay, so I realized I didn't show you how to unclip the plug from that coolant temperature sensor. You basically have to take this red piece and move it backwards, and then that allows you to squeeze down this release tab right here. That's how you would take that off. And that's the plug that's right there. Okay, so now I'll show you the next step here, which I also didn't explain very good yet. This is that coolant hose that goes to the larger tube here, and you're going to go ahead and get a small pick tool underneath this thing, pull that clip up and right off, and now that hose will pull straight off. And then the other hose goes on top. This with the other hose on top. You release that by pressing down on that to release that.